This game of Commander is brought to you by Comboing Off, proving that infinite combos are much better than games that have gone on far too long. Welcome to a game of Usurper featuring myself as the king, playing my Prime Speaker Zegana deck. This game went on for a while, by the way. The other players include Ronnie playing his Hazezon Tamar deck, Rob playing his favorite deck, Rafiq of the Many, Chris playing his Toshiro Umezawa deck, and June playing his Narset Enlightened Master deck. Just kidding, he's playing Karador. Which one is the guard, who is the traitor, and who are the assassins? I go first and keep an opening hand of these cards. June keeps a hand of those cards. Chris's hand. Rob's opening hand. And Ronnie's hand. I start the game with an untapped breeding pool, taking 2 damage and cast Mana Crypt into Sylvan Library. June plays Temple of Silence and scries the card, leaving it on top. Chris plays Swamp. Rob plays Seaside Citadel. Ronnie plays Sunpetal Grove. I roll damage on my upkeep from Mana Crypt. I then look at the top 3 cards of my library. I draw no extra cards, play Reliquary Tower, and cast Oracle Moldiah. I reveal and play Island off the top of my library as my additional land for the turn. June plays Overgrown Tomb, untapped, and cast Satyr Wayfinder, putting Temple of Plenty into his hand. Chris plays Shizo Death Storehouse. Rob plays Ancient Tomb and uses it, taking 2 damage, and then takes another 2 damage, casting Phyrexian Metamorph, copying my Oracle Moldiah. He then plays Reflecting Pool off the top of his library. Ronnie plays Firelit Thicket. I rearrange the top cards of my library and put 2 back on top, both of which I play off the top with Oracle. I hide away a card with Mosswarp Bridge when it enters. I cast Scavenging Ooze and Solemn Simulacrum, putting an island onto the battlefield. I decide to let my opponents make the first move, so I end up not attacking anyone. June plays Temple of Plenty and scries a card to the bottom. Chris plays Volrath Stronghold and then casts Expedition Mat. Rob plays Wooded Bastion and Vivid Grove from hand. Rob casts Sword of Feast and Famine, taking 2 damage and equips it to the Oracle. He then attacks June so that he can untap. June takes 4 damage and discards a card. Chris breaks his map, getting Urborg to Yawgmoth and putting it into his hand. Rob passes the turn. Ronnie plays Forest and casts Selvala, Explorer Returned. On my turn, I roll damage, draw 2 extra cards, and pay 4 life to keep 1 and put a land back on top, which I play with Oracle. I then play Misty Rainforest off the top. I then cast Sora Temptation, taking Rob's Oracle. I sack Misty Rainforest, paying a life, and putting an island onto the battlefield. I reveal Command Tower off the top of my library. It's at this point of the game we have a long rules debate about how multiple instances, such as Oracle's land ability, work. Finally, we conclude that I can play a 3rd land with 2 Oracles on the field, which I do in the form of Command Tower. I then cast Phantasmal Image, and in response, Rob Bant Charm, Sword of Temptation to the bottom of my library so that I can't copy it with Phantasmal Image. I end up copying Solemn Simulacrum and put a land onto the battlefield. I attack Rob with Oracle and Scavenging Ooze, since he's probably not my guard. Before damage, I exile 2 cards out of June's yard, gaining me 2 life. I deal 6 damage to Rob. June just passes the turn, not finding his 4th mana. Chris casts Urborg to Yawgmoth and casts Toshiro. Rob plays Temple of Enlightenment and scries Sword of Body Massage to the bottom of his library. Rob casts Return to Dust, exiling both of my Simulacrums. In response, I flip my Phyrexian Metamorph from my bridge and copy Rob's sword. I draw a card when the image Simulacrum dies. I then exile the other one. Rob attacks me for 4 with his suited up Oracle and untaps his lands. I discard a card. Rob takes 2 damage from his tomb and casts Sword of War and Peace and Sublime Archangel. On Ronnie's turn, he activates Savala's Parlay ability, making 4 mana and gaining him 4 life. Ronnie plays Plains and casts Boundless Realms, putting 4 lands onto the battlefield so that he can cast Hazezon next turn should he want to. I take 3 damage from Mana Crypt on my upkeep. I draw 2 extra cards with Sylvan Library, and then put 2 back. I then play 2 lands from the top of my library. I target myself with Time Stretch. I then Stewed Up Ooze my Sword of Feast and Famine and hit Rob with it. He discards and I untap. I Farseek, putting Island onto the field. I Explore, drawing a card. I cast Praetor's Council, returning so many cards to my hand. I then Farseek, putting another island onto the field. On my next turn, I pay 4 life with Sylvan Library and keep Evolving Wilds on top of my library, which I play with Oracle. I cast Explore, adding Genesis Wave to my hand, and then play another forest off the top of my library. I cast Genesis Wave for all the mana I have, 12. I get 8 permanents, 3 lands, Mana Reflection, Greater Good, Burgeoning, Gilded Drake, and Copy Artifact. I copy Sword of Feast and Famine with Copy Artifact. Gilded Drake takes Rob's Suited Up Oracle Moldiah. I play the second land for the turn, Oran Reef the Vastwood. I play Misty Rainforest from my hand. I equip my original Oracle Moldiah with my second Sword of Feast and Famine. I have 3 creatures on my field right now that have Swords of Feast and Famine attached to them, none of which are mine. I attack Rob with both creatures. Rob blocks 1 creature each. I sack both Evolving Wilds and Misty Rainforest, paying a life and putting 2 lands onto the field. At the end of that turn, I exile Gilded Drake out of my graveyard with Ooze and gain a life. I attack Rob with 3 creatures. He discards his hand and I untap my already untapped lands 3 times. Well, actually, this was another rules thing. Rob still discards from the sword, but he gets to untap his lands since he controls the sword. Rob still takes 15 damage and then I pass the turn. June casts Life from the Loam and then plays Mosswar Bridge and hides away a card. Chris casts Cabal Coffers and passes. Rob plays Rafiq and equips it with Sword and Feast and Famine. Ronnie parlays on his turn and gains 3 life. For the sake of switching things up, Ronnie casts Wheel of Fortune, much to Rob's delight. Ronnie casts Exploration and then casts Urabrask the Hidden. Ronnie casts Land Tax, pays 2 life for Stomping Ground, and casts Skull Clamp, equipping it to Urabrask. Ronnie passes, and at the end of Ronnie's turn, I exile 13 creatures from people's graveyards, gaining 13 life and pumping the Ooze. I roll damage with Mana Crypt on my upkeep. I pay 4 life with Sylvan Library and cast Garruk Primal Hunter and tick it up, making a beast. I cast Consecrated Sphinx and Primordial Hydra for 8, both of which come in tapped. I cast Zegana, putting 20 counters on it, and then draw 21 cards. I cast Prophet of Krufix and pass the turn. I untap on June's turn. At the end of June's turn, Chris shoots Urabrask, killing it, drawing and running 2 cards with the Skull Clamp. Then shoots and kills Zavala with Toshiro's ability, exiling a card out of his graveyard. Chris plays a Swamp on his turn, activates Cabal Coffers, and casts Sorin Markov and Bitter Blossom. Sorin sets June's life to 10, which probably means he is either the guard or the traitor, but not sure which. Rob plays Tundra, deals 2 damage to himself with Ancient Tomb, and casts Garruk Wildspeaker, untapping 2 lands. Rob casts Umezawa's Jitte and equips it to Rafiq, also taking another 2 damage from the Ancient Tomb a second time. Rob attacks me for a lot of damage, but in response, I flash in Spikeweaver and prevent all combat damage this turn. Apparently, I forgot Urabrask died. Rob then casts Wrath of God, clearing the board. Ronnie land taxes during his upkeep, plays 2 lands and casts Doubling Season and Greater Good. I roll damage on my upkeep. With a bunch of creatures in hand, but no way to give them haste, I cast Eternal Witness and return Prophet of Krufix to my hand and then cast it, hoping to cast lots of creatures at the end of Ronnie's turn and then attack with them on my turn. Having done that, I pass. On his turn, June dredges, returning Life from the Loam to his hand. June plays Woodland Cemetery and casts Deadbridge Chant, adding 10 cards to his yard. Chris takes up Sorin, dealing 2 damage to Ronnie and gaining Chris 2 life. Chris casts Karn Liberated and exiles Doubling Season. Rob casts Bribery, targeting Ronnie, putting Aurelia, the war leader, onto the battlefield. Rob targets Aurelia with Sword of Feast and Famine, and in response, I cast Arbor Colossus, and then make it monstrous, putting 3 counters on it and shooting Aurelia, killing the angel, prompting Rob to concede. Ronnie casts Hazezon and then casts Austere Command, choosing to destroy all creatures. I roll damage on my upkeep with Mana Crypt. I cast Acidic Slime and blow up June's Deadbridge chant, much to his chagrin. I cast Diluvian Primordial against people with fat graveyards. I cast Yawgmoth's Will out of Chris's yard, Obzidot's Aid out of June's, and I forget what else out of Ronnie's. Obzidot's Aid returns Avenger of Zendikar to the battlefield, making an inordinate amount of plants. I cast Prophet of Krufix and Arbor Colossus out of my graveyard. Also, Oracle of Moldiah, Scavenging Ooze, Azusa, and play 2 lands out of my graveyard and Eternal Wings, returning Spikeweaver to my hand. Then casting it. June dredges and casts Life from the Loam again, returning cycling lands to his hand and then cycles them. Chris loses a life on his turn due to Bitter Blossom. Chris Praetor's Grasps June, finding and casting Runescarred Demon, binding and casting Damnation, stopping me from winning next turn. Chris uses Sorin to set Ronnie to 10 life and exiles a card from June's hand. During his upkeep, Ronnie Enlightened Tutors for Fires Yavimaya, draws it and then casts it. During his upkeep, Ronnie also makes a bunch of Sand Warriors from the Hazezon trigger. Ronnie casts Beastmaster Ascension and then goes to combat, killing the crap out of June and Chris, luckily for me, meaning he is the guard, sharing the victory between us.
Shine.
Does the end a turn you Enlighten Tutor?
No, upkeep.
Upkeep. Okay.
Question, do they have haste?
Yeah,
He's gonna cast fires.
Fires, yeah. He's just gonna murder people.
Fire.
Fires and Beastmaster.
Sure, how much damage?
You die.
Oh, Beastmaster.
How about me? You die.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go, Tristan. You can do that.